Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with Conspicuous. Today, we are joined by the lovely Ruaridh Wallace, who is head of Microsoft BizApps at Virgin Money. I know that we previously had this scheduled, but we know what tech is like. Tech sometimes hates us and plays up. But we're very grateful that you could rejoin us this week. So thank you very much. But how are you today?
I'm great, thank you, and thanks for being patient. And looking forward
No
to having
worries.
a nice chat. So,
Absolutely. And just for those that don't know much about yourself, it will be good to know how you've sort of got to where you are today. Obviously, a lot of people will know Virgin Money, or you'd like to hope so. But obviously, in terms of your journey, yeah, how did you come to where you are today?
yeah, so as you say, so I set up and now lead our BizApp Centre of Excellence at Virgin Money. So we're really the custodians of all things Power Platform. So we do a mix of governance and enablement, really, to support the projects that are delivering solutions on the Power Platform. I've been with Virgin Money for 8 years.
Wow.
I've been around the block a fair bit before that. So started my life as a young project manager. I worked for a software company doing enterprise search for a good 6 years, and then moved into consultancy, focusing on content management, search, records management, that sort of thing for quite a few years, and then joined the bank. So I've sort of touched every sort of aspect to it. And yeah, we're just sort of on this journey. So I've been, I guess, focusing in on sort of SharePoint for quite a while now, from the early back in 2003 is when I first started playing around with it, and that's evolved. And as the bank sort of gradually moved towards a more digital service sort of proposition, we've sort of moved more towards the Microsoft platform, and there was an opportunity to grow. And then strategically, we made a decision to embark on the cloud, which was quite a big thing for financial service organizations at the time. It was off the back of COVID, as many of
Yeah.
these catalysts are, that we needed to put solutions live really quickly to help our customers out who desperately needed access to some of the government lending that was being made available. There was no way we would have done that traditionally. We sort of mobilized a group of sort of subject matter experts, and we quickly got a solution live within 6 weeks, and that really,
Yeah.
switched the light on for a lot of our execs, and it's been all go since, and we've grown exponentially, as we were chatting around before the start of this session, to the point we've got a huge volume of workload coming through. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I was quite impressed that you managed to go live with something within the space of 6 weeks. That's pretty impressive. Um, but obviously, as you said, COVID was quite a big catalyst for a lot of projects. And I can assume being within one company for around 8 years, you would have seen a lot of changes happen over that time. As we know, tech is it's ever evolving and it never stops.
Yeah.
But obviously, I know for Virgin Money, we sort of saw a few key milestones with your transformation process because I know we've briefly spoken about how there is lots going on for you guys at the moment. And one thing that you mentioned to me is that you've sort of transitioned from that legacy system to a modern solution. So for those watching, what did that look like? What did that sort of mean for the business?
Yeah, so I guess traditionally, we were looking at sort of on-premise solutions. We've got our own data centers, and we still do have a lot of our core banking systems operate from there. But really, the transformation as we move to be, leading digital service provider for customers, and particularly as we moved into sort of tier one status, the real focus was on delivering those really awesome customer experiences and digital propositions, and that needed a slight change of strategy from an architecture perspective.
Yeah,
You had lots of, and like any large company who's grown and acquired, right, there's a lot of legacy technologies, and your overall IT ecosystem is fairly complex, with many different solutions serving different products and services for the customer. So the goal was really to create a series of sort of coherent digital propositions that made the customer experience really simple, really consistent, and really user friendly, with great functionality and access to all the sort of service and propositions in a seamless sort of manner. And that really triggered the start of the journey into the cloud. As I say, the catalyst was COVID, not only just from an agility to deliver quickly, but looking at an ecosystem where we could bring all of the back end services and solutions and content together in a kind of more cohesive way, that we could then service that more streamlined to the customer. So through our mobile banking, internet banking, and bringing the sort of capabilities and connections together, whether it was our early days, it was our business banking proposition where we kind of started in a dynamic space, building CRM, onboarding journeys through power portals, etc. And that created, again, a bit more consistency. We're bringing all the data into one place. There's a consistent onboarding process. The customers have got that familiarity and access to all the services online or digitally through the apps or whatever. And then we moved more into the retail space, and we again looking to grow that sort of service proposition, we started playing around with a sort of virtual assistants, and that's
Yeah.
led us to having an award-winning chatbot called Ready. You might have seen some of that in the
Oh,
press,
yeah.
but that's a sort of conversational banking virtual assistant that we've got servicing our credit cards and personal account customers. And that's really been a huge sort of catalyst from a customer experience because it's transformed the whole customer engagement to the point that they can self-service a lot of queries or services that they need to perform directly without having to go into store or through contact center. And we contain over about 50% of those initial queries through the chatbot. So that's that sort of experience, that customer satisfaction is hugely driven, and to the point that actually second only to going into store and speaking to one of our excellent store colleagues face to face, the Ready chatbot is the next preferred point of engagement for the bank, which is really
Wow.
breathtaking. It blew our minds.
Yeah.
And it's really a testament to the team that are doing that. And again, it's putting the customer first, understanding really what the customer needs, and being able to, with the Microsoft Power Platform, with the early days of Power Virtual Agent, Copilot now, a lot of the AI capabilities that are coming in, we're creating a more human-like experience. So whereas most traditional chatbots are quite, stale and dry when you try and engage with them, we try and make it a little bit more friendly, more human, while still making sure customers understand they are engaging with a virtual assistant, but we welcome them. We say hello to them. We've built in semantic colloquialisms as well, so we they can speak to us in their own language, which is quite different. And colleagues
Oh,
in that team, they often talk about, you're from Newcastle. Excuse me one
yeah.
second.
That's all right.
People often phone up, I'm moving gaff, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
So we know that, or the chatbot I should say, understands they're looking to move house. So there's things like that we've built in, and it's our fantastic contact center colleagues who understand the customer, the journeys, their language that they're using, and we've empowered them. And this is the great thing about the platform, is to build these topics and these journeys so they can create the experiences really quickly, to the point that they can serve the customers really well to the context. And that's a combination of having a really great platform and then understanding the
Yeah,
sort of customer and bridging them by enabling them to sort of build that themselves, and they get a really good customer experience as a result of that.
absolutely. I mean, I've definitely been on that receiving end of a chatbot and wanting to launch my phone or laptop out the window. Like,
I think we all
obviously,
have. Yeah.
yeah, and you're constantly trying to say, no, I want you to do this, and then it'll give you three options that are completely irrelevant. For God's sake, just speak to a human. Um, so it's nice that we are seeing so many advancements, and I didn't know that you could sort of program it to the different languages or sort of ways someone speaks. So that's really cool because that would definitely help because as you said, most people will just say their own lingo without realizing, and then back in the day, a bot would be like, well, it wouldn't even know what to do. Um, so I think that's really cool. And as you said, things are just going to continue improving. This is sort of the start of it all. Um, I think I think it's, I mean, from my perspective, like Virgin Money is massive, and you forget how many different tech elements there is, and so many different processes under one business to suit the different areas. So I think it's amazing that you guys are surviving this type of transformation because it's huge. So hats off to all you workers as well, doing all of it. But has there sort of been, you know, IT is always going to have its challenges, as we know. But was there any sort of milestones or issues along the way of this transformation that were quite significant?
Um, of course, doing anything such radically, transformational will always bring, challenge. Any change does really.
Yeah,
And for us as a highly regulated, industry sector, the financial services, we've got the regulator with a lot of strict controls,
yeah,
understandably, and that's what we've got to put the customer first at the heart of everything that we do. Um, and for when we looked at setting up our center of excellence, the ship had already left the port in terms of, we had teams working in silos thinking, this is great, right? We'll build that. And they were like, hang on a minute, we've got, a danger of things going way out of control. So getting getting control of what we're doing from I guess specifically with a BizApps lens is been really key. So we ambitiously said, look, 18 months would be a great sort of phase one for us to mobilize our center
yeah,
of excellence, get all the things that we want to do to reach that sort of first step of maturity. It's taken us a little bit, just over 2 years probably to get there now, and it's there's so many things that you need to do, and it's an iterative approach, right? So it's the basics. We've got to protect the customer. We've got to create the great customer experiences. We've got to protect the customer, the data, the services. We've got to align what we're doing internally so that we're supporting colleagues in terms of doing that. So it's a balancing act of data security, user enablement. There's a whole aspect because we're moving into the cloud, right? It's software as a service now. It's no longer we're
yeah,
building and engineering the products from scratch. We're consuming a service. There's the constraints of the service might not always deliver what we need it to do. So it's understanding where we can sort of flex that, and we've been fairly bold in a number of areas. There's that ready chatbot we talked about in the early days. We were pushing the boundaries of what the sort of omni-channel and per virtual agent could do. We've advanced it significantly. We're looking to integrate with the new sort of Azure AI, Gen AI sort of capabilities, and enrich
yeah,
that customer experience further. These things are always sort of learning points. Um, I suppose the biggest challenge was really getting buy-in to moving to the cloud, because naturally there's a real nervousness, and we tend to have a low risk appetite as a sector to embark on things like moving everything, or we're not moving everything, but moving a large chunk of our service and our propositions into the cloud. But working with key partners, with Microsoft, proving what we can do. And again, it's a learning point. And once colleagues in the early days, the first sort of 6 to 12 months, we weren't really sure, a lot of hesitancy, but recognizing the value, we talked about that speed to deliver was really key. But then,
yeah,
looking at simplifying our estate from an IT architecture and service integration perspective is hugely allowed that acceleration. But fundamentally, it's looking at the customer experiences and colleague experience as well. It's a lot of the colleague element that we mustn't forget here is being really important to sort of understanding the value the product brings, and gradually more sort of business product owners and service leads are looking at it thinking, well, actually, if our goal is to create that award-winning digital experience, we need to sort of
yeah.
embark and join up that data or that service, and how do we simplify that customer journey, because that's ultimately what we're wanting to do. So I think working with the right sort of people who know what they're doing. We're all sort
Yeah.
of coming fresh. We knew a fair amount, and even from a centre of excellence, had a fair idea of what we need to do generically running centre of excellences, but putting it into the context of a business applications environment where we've got Power Platform, which gives you a whole range of capabilities. We're moving into strategic systems. It's understanding which things to prioritize first. Do we need our environment strategy, our security models, our actual service patterns? There's so many things that there's about 26 levers that we have from our Center of Excellence framework of things that we need to look after and tweak and constantly mature. And not to forget the platforms maturing. And we've had a few hiccups where,
Yeah.
um, we're assuming one sort of set of capabilities, or the new features coming out, and we have to very quickly um, get up to speed and make sure that there's no customer impact. But that's what our role is, right? As a Center of Excellence, and
Yeah.
I like to think we do that fairly well.
Absolutely. I think we'll definitely dive a bit more into that center of excellence and the role that has on the business. Because as you said, I mean, I couldn't even begin to imagine the pressure probably making these decisions. And as you said, although you're doing that transformation and switching over, you've still got to maintain a smooth running for your customers because the customers don't go on hold whilst you're doing this. So I I know you mentioned about having the right people and the colleagues and everything like that as well. And as much as technical skills you're definitely going to need and people having the knowledge on the platform, it's also people that are really timely. They've got really good communication because I imagine there's so many cross-functional teams that are having to collaborate that it probably could get messy at times. And if you had one person in a team that just didn't communicate or was doing things by themselves without informing people, it probably could have been quite detrimental, I guess.
Yeah, and colleagues are key, customers are key, and collaboration is at the heart of everything that we do, and that's
Yeah,
really one of the strengths of Virgin Money in terms of our values and our brand, right? We're quite very focused on customer, very focused on colleagues. We have those cross-functional teams, as you say. You're bringing the business into what we're doing. We've been moving to sort of more of an agile-led organization from a sort of ways
okay.
of working for a few years, and it's been quite a cultural transformation, way before COVID. But I say COVID was a little bit of a catalyst, moving everyone sort of virtually, kind of then changed the game again. And it's sort of
Yeah,
understanding how we can work, when we're not together and collaborating and drawing pictures on walls and working out problems face to face. And that was a bit of a challenge, but I say that the technology has really sort of helped us. And actually it's we've got more flexibility from an employee perspective, which is fantastic. And then bringing people into the office, we can still do that now, and we get the best of both, is with what we like to try to look at it and trying to connect colleagues together. But workforce and our colleague base is scattered all over the UK and abroad from our engineering kind of perspective. So that's always been a little bit of a challenge, but one I think we are always trying to sort of improve on a day-to-day basis with tools or processes or engagement and communication. But you nailed it on the head. That communication is key. And
yeah,
we like to look at it from, certainly in our world, the BizApp sort of world. That was one of the top priorities for me, is looking and understanding what community means. Whether it's
yeah,
our pro dev engineering teams, in terms of our dynamics engineers, or our contact center, conversation sort of analysts who are writing these excellent, chatbot journeys, supporting them in the right way, bringing them together. So, it's really key. If the platform is changing, they need to be kept aware of that. So that's one
yeah,
of the sort of key roles we perform. And then laterally, which we might get on to do a bit more of a deep dive, is our citizen dev community, if you like, our colleague community of practice, where we're empowering them to start exploring and solving their own sort of team and personal productivity type of problems. And that's been fairly awesome. And to be honest, that's the thing that really gets me going these days, is building that community and empowering them to really move on, because it's increasing our capability, it's improving our sort of operating procedures, efficiencies, and ultimately feeding into our customer experiences as well. So that's been really positive to see how that's evolved over the last sort of 12 months or so.
absolutely. And as you said that, you're going through so many challenges and changes, but it seems once you get over that hurdle, there's always that benefit that comes out of it. And just for any IT person within that industry, you've just got to be adaptable, haven't you? And make sure you can adapt and can change, because unfortunately that's how it's always going to be, I think. Um, but
Definitely.
one thing I want to know a little bit more about you is obviously within your job role, it is Centre of Excellence. So just for those that may not know exactly what that entails, what does that role do for the company, for everything really?
Yeah, so we're kind of think of us as a sort of centralized team, and as I say, we're the custodians of the Microsoft Power Platform. So Dynamics, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, Copilot, all of these sort of services that sit underneath that BizApps umbrella.
Yeah,
We largely look after from a governance and assurance and an enablement perspective. So the key thing is enablement. We need to enable our engineering colleagues, our the wider sort of community kind of colleagues as well, to be able to use the platform in the most effective way. Understanding what they require, putting in the frameworks, the services, and from a governance perspective, it's making sure that we're protecting the platform. So we've got the right security controls. We deal with standards. We deal with sort of knowledge sharing. We deal with innovation as well and maintaining the platform. So, because it's a cloud service, you assume everything's, you just sort of use it, and you don't have to worry about everything, but you're constantly keeping
yeah,
an eye on our capacity, consumption, and particularly as the platform is growing, we're seeing more and more um, adoption of the technology, increasing workloads. Microsoft go through strategic architecture changes, as they have done recently with the whole Copilot embedding in the Wave 2 release. That
yeah,
presents a number of challenges because we have to try and keep our kind of colleagues and the regular up to speed with what we're doing. We have to get sort of approvals before we can venture into some of those new areas, and we need to sort of disable all of that before we've got the sign-offs. Um, but really, we're a fairly small team. As I say, we look to empower the wider kind of colleagues, the development squads and end user kind of colleagues in terms of using the platform. And I say there's never a quiet day or a dull day in the life of a centre of excellence. And I have to sort of pay tribute to my wonderful colleagues in the team, because they're the heartbeat of keeping us going. And say whether it's, we're provisioning environments for development teams to get on, we're provisioning, enabling users, we're trying to orchestrate a really complex, route to live as all of these projects push the solutions into production. You're coordinating and orchestrating that in a safe, kind of consistent way, so we're not impacting our customers, is one of the biggest challenges. But that's where we kind of add the value. And then to say, we work really closely with Microsoft to make sure, as the evergreen nature of the platform evolves, we're up to speed with what's going on. We're preempting and testing and managing that change, and keeping that sort of key, consumer duty kind of requirements at the heart of everything that we do.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, in some companies, they may just have one person who is the center of excellence. So I think it's nice that you have a team, because as you said, it is quite a demanding job. You're having to look at everything very holistically, I would say, because you've got to think
Yeah,
of absolutely everything. And, if that, I mean, especially in a company like Virgin Money, if you just had one person having all that weight on their shoulders to deal with everything, whereas, as you said, you've got good colleagues around you that as are the heartbeat and can help with all that, because it is a lot. Like, there's a lot you have to
yeah.
think about. And I don't think, because not every company will have a center of excellence.
No,
But I think it's quite an important role, I would say.
I think so. If particularly if you're going on the journey and really embracing these workloads, that if you're serving customers or clients, whatever, you need to have some sort of centralized governance. And it doesn't need to be a huge team. We're relatively small. We actually need to
Yeah,
grow. And again, there's no one size fits all, and it's the same with any of the design of the solutions where we think, right, we've got a little bit of a tricky challenge. We'll speak to Microsoft, our partners. We work really closely with Avnet Accenture and the COE to say, right, how have other sort of large organizations in the financial services sector dealt with this sort of scenario, and say, well, you could do this, you could do that. There's never one definitive way of looking at it. It's the same for a COE type of function. And we've evolved, right? Had a vision on day one, and very quickly, whether it's the technology or the internal processes or the speed that we need to move, we've had to adapt it as we go. And that's maybe
Yeah,
why, I say my probably ambitious 18-month vision moved to more like sort of 25, 26 months. And that's not for me, it's not a concern, right? We've been doing the right things, and it's evolving to really make it as simple as we can. And it's a journey, right? It's always going to evolve. What
exactly.
we do is always going to evolve. And as say, it's, my goal, the next sort of phase is looking about automating as much of what we can do to streamline it, to make that self-service nature much better for our colleagues who are trying to consume these services and build these services. And then it's looking more at the innovation. So we're tending our focus, as we move more into the whole push for AI, etc. It's understanding how we can leverage that, in our propositions, for customer perspective, from a colleague, from an engineering perspective. There's a number of different lenses. So and we're trying to make it fun, right? We grow the community. Let's say we're the custodians. We like to think we're safeguarding, but enabling at the heart of it as well.
Absolutely. And I think one thing with larger organizations when they are dealing with big transformations is some end up focusing a little bit too hard on the end goal, and they don't think about the smaller goals that you need to achieve in between. Because I think some people can be so focused on this is where we need to be, and instead of being like, actually, it's not going to be a smooth ride. I think everyone's got to accept that as much if you do have a smooth ride the whole way, then hats off to you. But like you've got to put those smaller goals in place just to make sure you are achieving those benchmarks because you might be going right, but then there's going to be a change of direction left at some point. You're going to have to be able to not let that ruin that end goal. And I
Yeah.
think that's quite important. And I think one thing that is always on my mind with companies like Virgin Money is there is so many rules with security, compliance, and all of those things that we probably don't think about. So, how have you guys sort of managed all that on top of a huge transformation?
Yeah, it's been a challenge,
Yeah,
but it's one we're facing into. So it's about bringing the right sort of colleagues and experts on the journey with you. So
yeah,
when we're developing, say it's the Ready chatbot, we're working with our colleagues in risk and legal to make sure that the customer journey, the customer experience is sort of meeting all our compliance and regulatory requirements, as well as the sort of business goals at the end of the day as well. We have a fairly extensive control framework that we need to adhere to in terms of all the services
yeah,
that we deliver to make sure that we are protecting colleague and customer at the end of the day. So as with many organizations, the policies and standards dictate what we need to do. It's no different from cloud. If you're working on-prem, you still need to
yeah,
protect your data. You still need to protect your users. You still need to secure the platform. You still need to think about performance. All of these things come into play. It's just got a different endpoint that we're looking at. But you need the vision. You need the strategy. You do need to have a good understanding of what your end goal is. But as you say, you need to sort of then break it down and understand, well, what are the right steps and the right sequence, and some will move sailingly, swimmingly through that journey without any problems. Some you'll hit barriers every every day as
yeah,
you struggle to get there, but ultimately you will get there. We've sort of battled through, and to say the pipeline and opportunities that we're looking at to build out our customer services is growing extensively, and we've got a huge amount of demand coming into the platform. So yeah, it presents challenges in a different sort of way, but see, at the heart of it is securing and protecting kind of those services that we're providing. And it's the often talk about the hidden part of, it's not necessarily the jazzy element, the shiny bits
yeah,
that we deliver. You're not necessarily building the end products, but we're building the sort of foundational services. And quite often I use the analogy of you're driving a high-speed train whilst trying to lay the track in front of it at the same time, and putting your head up to see which direction you need to move. So you're trying to it's that sort of juggling kind of scenario, and that's always the challenge and the goal. But that's what keeps us busy and keeps it fun on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And just before we wrap up, obviously, if anyone does have any questions, please drop them in. If we don't answer them on live, we can answer them afterwards. But in terms of the future of Virgin Money, obviously, I know you said you're still very, very busy. And I know you still got a few yards to go until you're out the other end fully. But where is the future of Virgin Money going in terms of tech?
Yeah, so we're say evolving on our sort of Microsoft proposition. We're building out certainly from a BizApps perspective. We're looking to move into the AI, OpenAI, Gen AI for customers
Yeah.
and colleagues. That's sort of the next evolution in terms of how can we improve the servicing of customers and colleagues. As the platform evolves around that, it's getting to grips with that and building out that sort of proposition. So we're trying to, from a cloud strategy, bring things together in more cohesive fashion.
Yeah.
Um, the next sort of 18, 24 months is going to be fairly exciting for us. Just
Yeah.
been acquired by Nationwide, and that's a really
Oh, wow.
exciting and interesting opportunity for everyone involved across the two organizations as we bring two really great purposes together. We're creating a huge new set of propositions for the market, so it's going to be hugely exciting as we look to see where things evolve over time. But for now, it's business as usual, as they say, and we
Yeah.
just keep focusing on the next the next challenge that sits in front of us. So it's very exciting times.
100%. Well, it seems like all of you at Virgin Money are definitely busy bees at the moment, that you all seem, well, you're still smiling. So
Yeah,
that's obviously that's a good sign. And it seems as though everyone else is really dealing with all of this well. Because it isn't an easy task, and it definitely isn't an easy task in large organizations like Virgin Money. But it seems as though
yeah,
so much is happening. um, I know you mentioned potentially a couple of colleagues might be at Scottish Summit. I will just briefly mention about Scottish Summit because it is happening.
yeah.
Well, some bits going on today, but I know Friday, Saturday this week, a lot of people will be heading up. So if you are watching this and you do want to speak about what's going on at Virgin Money or ask any questions, I know that you said definitely one colleague, but maybe a couple more are going. Um, so I'm sure we'll be able to let you know who that is. Um, I also am going. A lot of the conspicuous team will be there, so we'll be happy to speak about anything as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where things are going to go. I'll definitely be keeping up to date on your page. Um, I don't know whether there's any sort of final thoughts or leaving things you would like to say.
Um, No, I think we've covered, all of the sort of key things. As I say, it's a huge opportunity of ahead of us around how we evolve
Yeah.
these things. It's constantly challenging. We're likely to be growing the team, so keep an eye out for that in the
Yeah.
future fairly shortly across the bank. And as I say, keep an eye out. There's some webinars coming up with Microsoft that we did some filming with last week.
Ooh,
So yeah, keep an eye out for those as well. They'll be coming online fairly soon, I think. But no,
very
it's
good.
as I say, it's fun, it's enjoyable. Our community is key, and hopefully the summit goes well. There's some great sessions coming up there, so I'm looking forward to getting a debrief in terms of what's being presented and talked about.
Absolutely. And as you said, it seems as though you've got a great team behind you. And if you're growing, make sure you keep your eyes peeled out for Virgin Money if they are hiring. Um, but yeah, I would have nearly forgotten this, but you haven't got away with it. I'm very sorry.
I was
But
thinking nearly
the
did.
yeah, you nearly did. Don't worry, we've got Helena. She messaged me and said, don't forget the final question. But as always, if you were not to be the head of Microsoft BizApps Center of Excellence at Virgin Money, what do you reckon you would be doing as a job?
Well, like I say, I've been round the block a few times, so I'm going to go left field because there's I could I've been and done lots of roles in this area. So I think I don't know. I always sort of fancied the idea of being a chef if the hours and
Ooh,
the lifestyle wasn't difficult. And I love my cycling, so if I could just do that for a living, then that would be fantastic as well. So maybe
that'd be
something a bit
very
more left
ideal.
field along those along those grounds.
Absolutely. And are you a good cook if you were to be a chef?
I like to think so. Maybe some would disagree,
Well,
but no, it's a passion. So yeah, I like it.
good. Perfect. Well, I like those answers. That's very good. So thank you for that. And honestly, thank you so much for coming on. I know a
No,
lot of people were
appreciate it.
excited about this one. So yeah, if you were tuning in, as I said, any questions, put them in the comments. If not, we will be back next week. I don't know whether it's me or Alex next week. I cannot remember my schedule. But we will be back next week with another episode. But thank you so much for giving us insight as to what it's like at Virgin Money and everything that's going on. I'm glad you're still smiling through the busy spell. And yeah, I'm sure we'll keep in contact.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
No worries, and we'll see you next week. Bye.